New Beginnings is appropriately titled, given that we've just wrapped up the longest arcs of the season, Pam and Bobby's marital woes and Jock and Ellie's marital woes. We only have a handful of episodes left in the season, so it seems odd that they title an episode New Beginnings. Wonder what that's about. We open with the sultry vocal stylings of one Afton Cooper at a going-away party for Jock and Ellie. Making Afton a singer was a great idea because it gets her to interact with other characters organically, and because Audrey Landers was focused on a music career at the time. Everyone is resting easy after Jock and Ellie buried the hatchet. Sue Ellen excuses herself to take a call, and it turns out to be from Clint's wife Alicia, who wants to meet with her about Clint.
Well, I don't understand.
Jock and Ellie drive off, leaving JR in charge of Ewing Oil, and Ray in charge of the land deals. Ray, Donna, JR, and Punk are all standing in a circle, and only one of them doesn't understand that it's a bad idea for Ray to go in on a big Lubbock deal with Punk. I'll give you one guess as to who that is.
He's listening, he's not understanding.
Yeah, he doesn't even, get us, man.
We're talking about you!
At the store, Cliff comes to apologize, but Pam demands he accept Rebecca as well. And he's not ready to do that. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Cliff has a point. You can't force someone to forgive another person or accept them when they're not ready to do that. Boundaries, Pam, boundaries. Donna Krebbs confronts JR about setting Ray up in a deal that is over his head. JR feigns ignorance, but Donna promises vengeance if Ray gets hurt. This episode is now 2 for 2 as JR is absolutely right. It's not his job to make sure that Ray, who is nearing his 40s at this point, stays in the kiddie pool. Maybe that was a bad analogy. But you get what I'm saying. Ray's a grown-ass man who can make his own decisions. I mean, we all know he's going to make the wrong decisions, but still, he gets to make them. At the house, Bobby, who has grown bored since he can no longer use his Senate seat to solve his parents' marital woes, complains about some jokers lobbying to lengthen the on-ramp on the highway. Apparently it's dangerous and a hazard. What some are calling a death trap. That guy is probably just trying to get into clown college faster, huh, Bob? Anyway, Pam thinks it's a good idea, even if Bobby does have to listen to his constituents now. Bobby promises to cancel his dinner with the other senators so he can meet Pam's mom. Well, I guess that lengthened ramp will never get built then. But I'm sure neither Bobby nor Pam will suffer from any karmic fate for making automobile travel less safe. In the funniest moment of the episode, Leslie Stewart makes a pitch to be the spin person for Westar Oil, presenting some samples to Jeremy Wendell and asking him to comment on how warm and human they are. Because when you think expert on warmth and humanity, Jeremy asks if Leslie might be looking to make a switch because of the changes at Ewing Oil. He turns her down for the PR job since Westar is obviously big enough to have its own firm, but he does think that Leslie might be useful in other ways. Mitch and Lucy make plans to go on a second honeymoon for their quarterly anniversary. Sue Ellen decides to go with the Ingrid Bergman at the airport look to totally devastate Alicia Ogden. Why not just hit her in the head with your Super Bowl ring and strangle her with your Academy Award? Sue Ellen half-heartedly tries to gaslight Alicia by saying the affair is all in her imagination. But Alicia powers through and doesn't let that happen. Instead, what plays out is literally the plot to the song Jolene. Alicia says she's willing to share Clint as long as Sue Ellen is discreet and leaves a little of him for her. This, of course, is one of the many looking glass Sue Ellens the writers have given us over the first few seasons, the most obvious of which is Pamela, who models happy marriage with Bobby and serves as an inspiration for Sue Ellen to demand more from JR. Alicia is at the other end of the spectrum, a woman so pathetic that she's willing to be the cuck queen to Sue Ellen in exchange for scraps. She doesn't even want to fight or shove Sue Ellen in the Southport pool. Her pleading makes Sue Ellen realize that she's essentially been doing the same thing with JR, only she's not making her knowledge explicit. Alicia, by the way, is played by Stephanie Braxton, who would be more prolific as a writer than an actress, serving in various writing capacities for As the World Turns. Cliff is still doing the sad sack routine when Afton comes up to him and offers a shoulder to cry on. It turns out Cliff is catching her on the rebound, as JR dumped her in favor of Leslie Stewart. She thinks it's because she's too dumb for him, which is funny because Afton would go on to be one of the more savvy characters on the show. In fact, I'm not entirely sure she doesn't intentionally drop the tidbit about the Southeast Asian oil wells here to make sure Cliff will pay attention to her. Because Lord knows Audrey Landers needs to do something to be more appealing to men. JR, who apparently cast Afton aside off-screen in favor of Leslie Stewart, shows up at Leslie's door to celebrate their imminent relationship and dispel any nasty rumors that Ewing Oil is on the block. Leslie accidentally on purpose pours champagne on him and shoos him out the door with promise of future carnality. But once he's gone, we see that the real reason she shooed him out was that she and her ex Greg are having an erotic reunion. At Ewing Oil, JR has to break the bad news to Jeremy Wendell. Ewing Oil is not for sale, thus earning JR a mortal enemy for the next decade of the show.
Jeremy, I am sorry.
Not as sorry as you're going to be.
Bobby stops by to talk with Donna about Ray dropping the ball where the ranch is concerned. She tells him about the Lubbock project and they both psychoanalyze Ray in absentia. Apparently Ray is just too stubborn to ask for help. Well, he's certainly not going to get help from land surveyors, I can tell you that. Bobby, ever the optimist, thinks he'll come around. At Rebecca's, Pamela trauma dumps about not being able to have kids. Rebecca encourages her to go back to the doctor, though, especially now that she doesn't have to worry about the specter of looming neurofibromatosis.
Neurofibromatosis.
At the hotel room, Sue Ellen turns down Clint's engagement offer and tells him to go back to his wife. He's so confused that he develops Sue Ellen Ewing syndrome on the spot.
I don't understand.
Sue Ellen tells him that their time has passed, and they're just trying to recapture how they felt in high school. At the ranch, Sue Ellen pours all her love into John Ross, and inadvertently rubs it in that she has kids and Pam doesn't. If this were the old Sue Ellen, I would think that it would come across as more of a dig. But here it's just driving home the point that Pam wants a baby. At breakfast, JR is in rare form, getting digs in on Bobby and Pam's marriage, Donna Krebbs for nearly breaking up Jock and Ellie, Sue Ellen for suddenly deciding to be a mom and not a side chick, and Ray Krebbs for, well, just being Red Krebbs. JR going all in and setting up the parlay. Ray tells Bobby that he's got everything under control and rejects the idea that they need a temporary foreman from Colorado who bears a resemblance to Jock Ewing. Wait, wrong season. Anyway, Ray says that he can handle the ranch and the real estate deals, which causes Bobby to admit that he might have been wrong about something. At Westar, Jeremy Wendell switches sides and tells his henchman Dave Stratton to gather all the evidence that JR was behind the Southeast Asian oil well coup and deliver it to Cliff Barnes. Ha! JR's not going to be able to worm his way out of this one. Jeremy Wendell has the sharpest mind in all of backstabbery. JR comes home to find Sue Ellen passed out while reading to John Ross. She tells him that John Ross likes to be read to even though he doesn't understand. Well, he does get that from his mom. Sue Ellen recounts the start of their relationship. Her mother, who we've established basically acted as a pimp for her daughters because she was paranoid about being poor, had an even richer guy picked out for Sue Ellen. But Sue Ellen liked JR's eyes and the way that he talked. JR tells her about it from his point of view. He was judging the Miss Texas pageant and all the other girls were trying to look sexy, but Sue Ellen didn't even try at all. She just looked classy and graceful, a combination JR describes as devastating. And yeah, how would you not want to marry a man who described you that way? This is just peak acting from Linda Gray and especially Larry Hagman, because they sucker you into wanting this to all work out for them, despite the toxic mess that their relationship has been for years. I mean, he just left a woman's apartment after promising that he was going to dump his wife for her, and now we're like, hey, can't these crazy kids just give it one more chance? Unfortunately, the nostalgic bliss is broken up by a phone call.
It's Kristen, calling from California. You have another son.
And we're out. More on that bombshell at the end of the episode at a later date. But I want to go back to the thesis I threw out in the second season, and that is that Dallas is actually the story of Sue Ellen Ewing. She's the character that the other leads, the side characters, the guest shots, and the subplots contribute to the most. When we first met her, she was in a loveless, lifeless marriage, trying desperately to get her husband to notice her.
Jill, we don't make love anymore.
But then Pamela moved in, and Sue Ellen saw a happy relationship being modeled right in the next room, and she realized she wanted a man who adored her in the way that Bobby adored Pam. And for a time, it made sense that she'd found that adoration in Cliff Barnes. But Cliff Barnes being Cliff Barnes, it turned out that she was just a proxy for his real love affair with losing to JR. And after that, if we're being honest, she was trying for suicide by Belvedere. But along the way, especially through the first 4 seasons, both Sue Ellen and the audience are presented with alternate versions of herself and ways that her life could have played out. Pam is the idealized Sue Ellen. Kristen is Sue Ellen if she were fully devoted to gold digging. Marilee Stone is, or will become, Sue Ellen post-JR. And now we have Leslie Stewart and Alicia Ogden in this episode, both representing roles Sue Ellen is playing. Leslie is easy and obvious to see. JR has promised to leave his wife for her, but she isn't fully interested, so it turns out even Jolene has a Jolene. And Alicia is the version of Sue Ellen who has lived under the surface these past 4 years. We only get 2 or 3 scenes with Alicia, but those scenes are memorable for the sad, resigned way that she's willing to give over her husband, if only she's allowed to pick at the leftovers.
I don't know how you can accept that.
Oh, I can accept it. If it means he won't leave me.
It's despairing and pathetic, but the only thing that she's doing is making explicit what Sue Ellen has tried to bury. Sue Ellen has knowingly shared JR with women, and while she's used John Ross or money or any number of other excuses, the final scene of this episode shows that she doesn't leave JR because she's constantly chasing the idea that things could be like they used to be.
Why can't it be like that again, like it was those first years?
And along with those alternate Sue Ellens comes a series of potential suitors who offer different ways of loving her. Cliff's love was mostly selfish, Clint's was idealized, Dusty's was lustful, tawdry romance novel love, and yet JR gets Sue Ellen in a way that the others don't. Part of that may be that he's a sleazy, sociopathic manipulator who understands what makes people tick. But another part of it might be that he genuinely loves Sue Ellen and he wants to make it work with her. But of course, at the last minute, one of the other Sue Ellens calls and reminds her why JR could never be that guy. The rest of the episode is filled with the cocky brazenness that can come with knowing that there is 0% chance that you're not coming back for a 5th season, as the writers start dropping in plot points for future seasons, with only 2 episodes left in this one. Scorned petro bitch Jeremy Wendell never forgives JR for the transgression here, and the fallout from that rolls all the way to the end of the series. Ray Krebbs as a wannabe Donald Trump in Shit Kickers basically turns out to be his whole season 5. Afton starts to become a player, or at least player adjacent, and that's nothing but a good thing. And the seeds are being planted in Pamela's mind that she will need a baby by the end of the next season. Unfortunately, those seeds are insanity peppers, but that's for another time.